Saudi Arabia is known across the world for one thing above all: justice. A justice system where wealth, power, connections, or status hold no value in front of the law. A land where kings and laborers stand equal when it comes to right and wrong. And it was in this land that the story of a young Pakistani man named Hashim Khan began. One that would shake hearts in two countries. Hashim Khan was born in the mountains of Swat, the only brother of 4 sisters. Poverty lived permanently inside their home, but dignity never left their doorstep. When Hashim was only 6 years old, his mother passed away, leaving his father alone to raise 5 children. The old man worked day and night, doing whatever labor he could find, but the burden was heavy and the hunger was heavier. By the time Hashim turned 21, his father had made a difficult decision. He borrowed money from a relative, wiped his tears quietly, and told his only son, "Go. Change your fate. If you stay here, poverty will bury you alive." Hashim didn't want to leave his sisters crying behind, but he knew he had no choice. He promised them he would return as soon as life became stable. Hashim arrived in Jeddah and soon found work in a large car showroom as a maintenance worker. The job was tough, but the salary was good enough to slowly transform the lives of his family back home. For the first time in years, money began entering the house. Food became regular, medical bills were paid. Within 2 years, 3 of his sisters were married, something his father once believed he could never afford. But blessings always come with tests. The showroom's owner had a son, a young man spoiled entirely by his father's unlimited love and wealth. He was arrogant, stubborn, and carried anger on his face like a permanent mark. No one in the entire showroom dared to correct him. No one dared to stand up to him except fate. One day, over a small mistake while handling groceries, the young man exploded in rage. He insulted Hashim, shouted at him, and shoved him in front of everyone. Hashim tried to stay calm, tried to keep his head down, but dignity has a limit. And that day, that limit was crossed. And from this moment, a deadly chain of events silently began. 15 days passed after the first fight, and the entire showroom slowly returned to normal. Everyone assumed the matter was over, but the sponsor's son, the spoiled young man who had never been disciplined in his life, was burning inside. His ego refused to forget that a poor foreign worker had dared to defend himself. His anger didn't calm down, it grew sharper, darker, and more dangerous with every passing day. One afternoon, when the showroom was busy and Hashim Khan was tightening a bolt under a car, the young man marched inside with fire in his eyes. He didn't greet anyone. He didn't look left or right. He walked straight toward Hashim like a storm. Without warning, he kicked the toolbox beside Hashim and shouted, "How dare you touch me that day? Who do you think you are?" Hashim stood up slowly, wiping grease from his hands. He tried to speak gently. "I didn't want to fight you. You pushed me first. I work for your father. If he tells me to leave, I will leave peacefully." But softness only poured fuel on the young man's rage. He grabbed Hashim by the collar and shoved him backward and "You don't get to speak! You don't get to breathe without my permission!" Workers rushed forward to stop him, but he pushed them away like flies. Hashim kept pleading, "Calm down, there's no need for this." But suddenly, smack! A ruthless slap landed across Hashim's face. The sound echoed across the entire showroom. For a moment, everything went silent. Hashim staggered back, eyes burning with humiliation. He wasn't just slapped. He was insulted in front of dozens of people, and a Pathan's dignity never dies quietly. Hashim tried to restrain himself, but the young man kept attacking, kept provoking, kept pushing. Finally, Hashim grabbed his hands to stop him. This small act of self-defense was enough to ignite the spoiled boy's full fury. Shaking with rage, the young man screamed, "I'll show you who I am!" He ran into the office, disappeared for a moment, and returned holding a pistol. Gasps filled the room. Workers shouted, "No, stop! Put it down!" But his ears were closed, his heart blinded, and his ego in full command. 3 deafening gunshots tore through the air. Hashim Khan collapsed instantly. Blood spread across the floor. His hands trembled once, then fell still. He died before anyone could lift him. And the showroom that once echoed with engines now echoed with screams. The moment Hashim Khan's body hit the floor, chaos erupted. Workers shouted, some cried, some ran in circles not knowing what to do. It was as if time itself froze, stunned by the brutality that had just unfolded. A young man who had come to this country with dreams, hopes, and responsibilities. now lay lifeless on the cold showroom tiles. The police arrived within minutes. They stormed inside, handcuffed the trembling young man, and dragged him away. He didn't resist now. His rage had vanished. His legs shook. His face turned pale as if he finally understood what he had done. But it was too late. Far too late. Hashim was rushed to the hospital, but the doctor only shook his head. "He died an hour ago," he said softly. Those words spread like fire. Everyone who had seen the fight, everyone who had witnessed Hashim's patience, broke down in tears. A foreign worker had lost his life for nothing. Back in Swat, Pakistan, when the news reached Hashim's home, it was as if the sky had crashed on their roof. His sisters screamed and fainted repeatedly. Their only brother, their only support, the man who sent home every last rial he earned, was gone forever. Their father sat silently, staring into space. The old man didn't cry at first. Pain had paralyzed even his tears. He whispered only one sentence. "My boy worked so hard to keep us alive, and now he is gone." The case moved quickly in Saudi Arabia. The sponsor, the father of the killer, visited his son in jail. His son cried like a child, begging, "Baba, forgive me, please take me out. I promise I'll obey you, just once. Please." The sponsor broke down. He loved his son deeply. He had spoiled him his whole life. And now he was paying the price for his own parenting. With a broken voice, he assured his son, "I will try everything. I will go to Pakistan myself if I have to." Under Saudi law, the punishment was clear. Qisas, the murderer would be beheaded. However, there was a way out. If Hashim's family accepted diya, blood money, the killer could be forgiven. With hope and fear mixed in his heart, the sponsor prepared to meet a devastated father in Pakistan, praying that mercy might save his only child. But he didn't know that Hashim's father had already taken a decision written in stone. The sponsor, an old Saudi man with a heavy heart, took the first flight to Pakistan. He arrived in Swat with gifts, money, and countless apologies. He wasn't a bad man. He had always treated Hashim well, but his son's arrogance had destroyed two families in one moment. With trembling hands and eyes full of regret, he stood at Hashim's doorway hoping for forgiveness. Hashim's father came out slowly, supported by his daughters. His face was pale, eyes swollen from nights of sleepless crying. The sponsor immediately fell to his knees. He didn't care about culture, pride, or status. He held the old man's feet and said, "Forgive my son. Please. He made a terrible mistake. I will give you whatever you ask. Just let my child live." Hashim's sisters began crying loudly. Their father gently pulled his feet away and said in a voice that shook the air, "I cannot sell my son. I cannot put a price on my child's blood." The sponsor opened a bag full of money, stacks of notes, enough to erase their poverty forever. But Hashim's father stepped back and said, "If this money could bring my son back, I would take it, but it cannot." The sponsor tried again, and again. Every day for 15 days, he visited them, begged them, cried in front of them. Even the neighbors felt pity, but Hashim's father remained firm. His youngest daughter spoke one sentence that ended every negotiation. "If you can return our brother, we will forgive you." The sponsor had no answer. Days passed. The deadline approached. According to Saudi law, on the appointed day, the murderer would be taken to the public ground for execution unless forgiveness arrived in writing. The sponsor returned to Saudi Arabia broken, desperate, and hopeless. His son cried in prison day and night, waiting for news that never came. He kept asking the guards, "Did my father come? Has the family forgiven me?" And every time the answer was no. As the execution day neared, the entire city of Jeddah began discussing the case. Some said the father was right not to forgive. Others said the sponsor had shown enough humility. But the law was the law. And Hashim's father was a mountain, unshakable, unmoved, unbreakable. He had lost his only son, and now justice was the only thing he demanded. The day of the execution arrived like a storm. Thousands gathered on the main road of Jeddah, where public qisas was to be carried out. The sun was harsh, but the atmosphere was heavier than the heat. Security forces surrounded the area. Reporters, locals, and expatriates stood shoulder to shoulder, waiting for a justice that was painful, yet inevitable. Hashim Khan's father, weak but determined, stood straight among the crowd. His daughters were not there. He had asked them to stay home, to avoid witnessing a sight that would forever live in memory. The old man clutched his walking stick, his face calm yet carved with grief that words could never describe. On the other side, the sponsor stood crying, broken, almost unrecognizable. His once proud shoulders now trembled with every breath. He had sold land, offered blank checks, begged in front of powerful officials. But nothing could change the decision of a grieving father. Moments later, guards brought out the young man, the sponsor's son. His eyes were blindfolded, his hands tied. His legs shook so much he could barely stand. The reality of death wrapped around him like ice. He whispered something repeatedly under his breath. Maybe a prayer, maybe regret, maybe fear. The sponsor rushed toward Hashim's father one last time. He fell on his knees, holding the old man's feet again, crying so loudly that even strangers felt pain in their hearts. "Please," he begged, voice cracking, "I will give everything I own. Don't let my son die. Have mercy, not on him, but on a helpless father." For a moment, even the execution ground went silent. Everyone waited to see if the old Pathan's heart would soften, but Hashim's father slowly shook his head. His voice was low, but unbreakable. "My son was innocent. Your son killed him in arrogance. Today, justice must be equal. I cannot forgive him." The sponsor collapsed on the ground, sobbing, but time had run out. The guard signaled. The executioner stepped forward. A single stroke, swift, sharp, final. The crowd gasped. Some looked away, some cried, and some whispered, "This is justice." The sponsor screamed as his world shattered. Two fathers had now lost their only sons, one to arrogance, the other to justice. Silence spread across the ground, and in that silence, one truth became clear. A country rises when justice rises, immediately, equally, without fear or favor.